Aloha and welcome to Outside Hawaii. Mahalo for joining us today. I'm Jen Boneza. On today's show, we have two success stories for you, both of them about ocean conservation efforts taking place right here in Hawaii. The comeback story of Hawaii's green sea turtle, also known as Honu, is thought to be one of the best and certainly one of the more obvious victories in conservation. Prior to the early 1970s, our Honu, or green sea turtle here and across the world, were reduced to numbers that threatened their very existence. Protected in the U.S. by the Endangered Species Act, our green sea turtles have made a remarkable recovery. In the first two segments of today's show, we'll give you a quick course in Hawaiian green sea turtle basics. We'll also talk about the challenges facing these gentle creatures and how we can do our part to protect them. During the second half of the show, we'll begin telling the story of Hawaii's community-based subsistence fishing areas. The community of Haena on Kauai's North Shore was recently officially recognized by the state of Hawaii as the first CBSFA, or community-based subsistence fishing area. There are many communities that are waiting for their chance to become acknowledged, so this is a story that will take years to tell. We feel privileged to take a small part in documenting this historic event and grassroots movement. When we come back, we'll talk story about Hawaii's Honu. Mahalo.
Jen Boneza's wardrobe is provided by Missing Polynesia.
Please keep your distance and respect our marine wildlife.
Mokulele Airlines is Hawaii's favorite airline and most dependable island hopper. Climb aboard. Your adventure begins with Mokulele Airlines. Win free tickets on Mokulele. Text Mokulele to HNN 808 to enter. Mokulele Airlines, the favorite choice to island hop.
You wouldn't want someone to do this to your home.
Hey, don't you know how to knock?
Why are we doing it to theirs? Give the reef a break. You can make a huge difference.
How about a fish sandwich?
Not many years ago, it was unusual for ocean users to see Hawaiian green sea turtles. Nowadays, it's unusual not to see them.
Our Hawaiian green sea turtle, also known as Honu, were widely hunted here and across the world for meat and for their shells. There was a time when many local families had shellacked Honu shells hanging on their living room walls. Combs and hairpieces were also made from the shells of Honu.
Green sea turtles are in tropical and subtropical waters, and here in the Hawaiian Islands we have a genetically distinct population that is federally protected separate from the rest of the population, and they're listed as threatened in the Hawaiian Islands. Sea turtles are very interesting. They spend the majority of their time out at sea, and then they come to shore to bask, thermoregulate, and then to lay eggs. And when the hatchlings first emerge, they'll go out to sea and they'll stay for around 5 to 10 years before they come back to near shore waters. And it's pretty mysterious. No one really knows what's happening during that time because obviously it's hard to track them then. And then at 20 years old to about 50 years old, they reach sexual maturity and they come back to land and they'll crawl onto the beaches at night, dig a hole, and lay around 80 to 100 eggs. And they'll do that every 2 to 3 years.
In the 1970s, Honu numbers were so low they were included into the Endangered Species Act and became federally protected. As we mentioned before, 40 years or so ago, most ocean users rarely saw Honu, and if they did, those turtles were probably wary of humans.
The sea turtles in Hawaii are really interesting because they are the only population of green sea turtles that comes out of the ocean and just lays on the beach and basks. And they think that the reason sea turtles do that is to regulate their body temperature. So if they're a little bit chilly, they can come out onto the beach and lay in the sun and warm up. And then they also do it to rest.
Hawaii's average nearshore water temperature are a little cooler than our southern neighbors. 90-degree water in Palau, for example, is not unusual.
The green sea turtles that are in the Hawaiian Islands are genetically distinct from the green sea turtles that occur throughout the rest of the world in tropical and subtropical waters. We've seen an increase in sea turtle numbers since the late 1970s, and that increase has been approximately 50%. And so when you're in Hawaii, you see a lot of sea turtles, and so people ask, why is this sea turtle on the Endangered Species Act, on the Endangered Species list? Why is it listed as threatened? And the reason is because over 90% of the green sea turtles in the Hawaiian Islands nest in a single atoll in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands called French Frigate Shoals. It's a very low-lying island, or low-lying atoll, and in the face of climate change with projected sea level rise, French Frigate Atoll will be underwater within the next 100 years. So that's the reason that the federal government has decided to keep the distinct population of sea turtles in the Hawaiian Islands listed as threatened and protected under the Endangered Species Act.
The world's oldest ecosystem is here. It provides, protects, and supports thousands of living creatures and shoreline communities around the world. It's our source of food, good surf, and sandy beaches. And now, it needs us.
Today's actions may be tomorrow's regrets. It is everyone's kuleana to preserve our coral reefs for work, for play, and for life. Let's give the reef a break.
I dwell in the realm of Kanaloa. This has been my native home for millions of years, but now my future is in jeopardy. Our kupuna ku'ulakai taught us the skills to be good fishermen, the value of a kapu system, and most importantly, to share. We are one. What happens to me happens to all of us. He Hawaii kako. We are Hawaii.
Denture wearers, do you have problems chewing your food, sore spots, or feel uncomfortable in business or social situations? Dr. Michael Nishime is a board-certified implant dentist who has over 20 years of experience. Have your entire dental implant treatment completed by Dr. Nishime in a world-class facility offering many solutions to your problems, such as implant-supported overdentures, fixed implant-supported bridges, single-tooth implants, and a smile makeover. Call today for a complimentary exam and x-rays. Most conservation professionals will tell you that they don't manage wild animals. Often, the greatest challenge for them is managing the behavior of humans.
This beach on a remote part of Molokai has reported turtles coming onto the sand to bask. This stretch of Hawaii obviously is an ideal place for Honu to rest and warm up. Unfortunately, many of our Honu did not get that memo or email that they are hauling out onto beaches that are popular with local ocean users and now visitors. This is a typical scene at Haleiwa's Alii Beach Park on Oahu's North Shore. We're certain these visitors meant no harm to these green sea turtles. However, we personally witnessed this turtle abandoning its resting spot because its personal space was violated. Seeing turtles on our beaches is a relatively new thing, like in the last 15 years or so. However, we're pretty sure this was how it was before first people arrived.
A lot of people have become aware of those basking turtles. They're very excited to see those turtles. And unfortunately, they are also sometimes will disturb those turtles. And the turtles are disturbed if people get too close, if people move the sand around them, if they step too close. You don't even have to touch the turtle, but if the sand moves, the turtles will often turn around and go back in the water. And for, you know, a very large animal with a heavy shell, that is an enormous amount of energy required to drag yourself into the ocean, swim down a little bit, and try to come out again and rest. So I live in Haleiwa, and I surf at Haleiwa Beach Park a lot, which is right around the corner here. And so I'm in this area often. I have seen people doing things from watching turtles from a respectful distance, to touching them, to encouraging their children to touch them and pull their tail, to sitting on top of the turtle, to putting their children on top of the turtle for a photo op, to picking up gallons of water and taking them to the basking turtle and dumping it on their head because they think that the turtle is stranded as opposed to basking. So, and then I have also seen people picking up the turtles and taking them back into the water also because they think the turtles are stranded as opposed to basking on their own free will.
Diana Bon Sr., a volunteer with Malama na Honu, gave us some Honu etiquette pointers.
Well, it's so exciting to see them on the beach, so it is kind of hard to maintain your control if it's the very first time you've seen them. But first of all, you want to give them space. Usually they recommend about 6 feet or 2 meters. And obviously, you know, not put a selfie stick in their face, or you just want to treat them like wildlife. One of the issues with turtles is they don't startle like a deer would to get away from you. They are very calm creatures, so it's really easy to approach them, and consequently that makes them very vulnerable.
These basking and resting Honu feed on algae in front of this beach, and Honu, or green sea turtles, actually rest underwater as well. Pursuing them in the water can alter their feeding and resting patterns.
I like that they come up on this end. A lot of other spots they don't come up on, but over here they come up a lot. Oh man, I see them just get too close and you know, touching them and stuff. But every time I see it, I tell them stop, but I cannot be here all the time, you know?
Because these Honu are being disturbed, the United States Fish and Wildlife Service and the Malama Learning Center are in the early stages of creating partnerships to educate the public, residents, and visitors alike on being neighbors of Honu.
So we've started putting up signs here at Alii's to educate people as they come how to respectfully interact with the turtles from a distance. But we are also hoping to bring in the elementary school students from Haleiwa Elementary and Waialua Elementary School to first teach them on how to interact with the Honu, and then have them teach the community, because
our Honu are wild animals that are protected by the Federal Endangered Species Act, and there are consequences for altering their behavior in negative ways.
Yes, there are legal ramifications if you do harass a turtle, either touch it, ride it, feed it, crowd too close to it, enough to change its behavior. Because they're protected by the Endangered Species Act, there's fines and even jail time if you are caught harassing a turtle.
No wonder there's no fish. Their homes are all messed up.
Yep. More junk on the reef means less habitat for fish. Please get rid of your trash properly. Help save our reefs and the fish that live there.
If you don't like it, what makes you think they do? Please keep your distance and respect our marine wildlife.
Recently, the community of Haena celebrated Hawaii's first community-based subsistence fishing area. It took countless hours of volunteerism, compromise, and over 2 decades for this to happen.
The concept for what is known today as the community-based subsistence fishing area is not a new one. For Hui Maka'ainana o Makana, a grassroots organization from Haena, Kauai, a community-based subsistence fishing area, or CBSFA, is really a place where the philosophy of Malama'aina is being practiced. After more than 2 decades, the community of Haena has been legally granted the right by the state of Hawaii to implement an adaptation of traditional resource management practice. It has really been a long time coming. On a damp evening, November 13th, 2015, folks from Haena, leaders from many other communities that hope to create their own CBFSAs, and longtime supporters of this concept of community management came together in the neighboring Ahupua'a of Waipa to celebrate Haena's landmark and historic achievement.
Nino ka mahalo no ka alaka ia na mai ia mākohi. Nino ka mahalo no ka poe kupuna nānei. Ko ani nei kia hele hele ai, kia hele pono. Nino ka mahalo no ka ike, ni ka na'awau. Mai ka iku.
Early the next morning, Hui Maka'ainana o Makana and other communities took part in a workshop that emphasized dialogue, the sharing of concerns, and proactive solutions.
Yeah, the whole thing comes down to your individual range of commitment, how much you like commit and how much you like participate.
Your community changes so quickly that now the community, the Malihini that comes is now voicing their concerns, and then you go like, whoa, where did this come from? So you get the added task of not only trying to stay focused, but you have to know that the dynamics of change that's within your midst, and it makes our job really harder because you cannot ignore them, because in the end, the state's process is looking at 2 masters, right? One is they claim that, oh, we want to honor the Hawaiian, the Hawaiian rights in the Constitution of the state of Hawaii. And on the flip side, as soon as they say that, they say, oh, we have the general public, So they're already conflicted, and we're supposed to somehow balance it all,
I guess what I'm saying is that not that we're going to put enforcement on the back burner. It's going to follow right after or simultaneously. But the focus is building that CBSFA awareness program so that more of the communities can have that foundation.
And where do we need the energy to go? And for myself, I want to say enforcement, because CBSFA is about rules. And a big question, like I said earlier, is always who will enforce them. So we cannot keep making rules and nobody going to enforce them. And we're going to end up in square one again. Yeah.
For those of you wondering, this is not a movement led only by men. The success of Haena and this movement can be attributed to many women.
Mokulele Airlines is Hawaii's favorite airline and most dependable island hopper. Climb aboard. Your adventure begins with Mokulele Airlines. Win free tickets on Mokulele. Text Mokulele to HNN 808 to enter. Mokulele Airlines, the favorite choice to island hop.
Oh my gosh, look at the
Hey, look over here.
Hey,
Over here.
Woo! Oh, it's looking. Take a picture.
Go closer, go closer.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Woo!
Cheese.
We're gonna get another one. Who's gonna post it on Instagram?
Ride it. It's moving, right?
I want to go ride it.
If you don't like it, what makes you think they do? Please keep your distance and respect our marine wildlife.
It's a fun film. Woo!
Please keep your distance and respect our marine wildlife.
No one is banned from the nearshore waters of Haena. However, there is a code of behavior that both visitors and residents must follow.
For Haena and other communities that hope to establish their own CBFSAs, working within the 21st century and traditional practices presents an assortment of ambiguities and conflicts. One example is the different methods and interpretations Western science is based on. Haena has had to follow the parameters of Western data collection and presentation of that data in order to match the standards of the state. At the same time, they are relying on their elders, whose empirical knowledge is based on years of first-hand observation and the traditional passing down of critical events, practices, and techniques.
I have two ways of observing it. One is through the stories that the kupuna would tell. So we have Uncle Tom Hashimoto. He would tell of the moai piles as big as this whole shed over here. He said, you look in the wave, you just see this huge pile of blue. So I have that like in my mental image in my mind when I hear his stories and I go out fishing, I don't see any moai. So that's my observation is within his lifetime, there has been that big of a collapse that quickly. And there's a lot of reasons why.
Dr. Kavika Winter is the director of Limahuli Garden and Preserve. He's used his knowledge of traditional practices and his scientific background to bridge and interpret many of the difficulties of the CBSFA journey.
Our whole mission here is to restore this ahupua'a. But how do you do that under the context of the state of Hawaii and the two constitutions that we have to operate under, a U.S. Constitution and the state constitution? You're gonna have to get creative and think out of the box and figure out how to work with this system to do this kind of stuff, if we want it to happen now. I mean, the fight for sovereignty is another thing, but we gotta figure out something today before these things are lost forever. And so the CBSFA, it was one avenue that this community could take as a step in that direction. And it's a path that only two other communities had even stepped on before. You guys, Miloli'i and Mo'omomai Mauka'i. And to us, we were like, okay, we're the third community to take this one step on this road, see where it takes us. And so we've been walking it for 10 years to see if this works. It's all one big experiment. Is this gonna work? We see. Right.
One of the bridges the leadership in Haena has embraced is that of breath-hold spear fishermen who have a strong passion for the ocean and want to enhance and conserve near-shore resources. At a recent tournament, they applied their unique skill set to reduce the numbers of an introduced fish.
They was telling us, yeah, at first when we heard about this, we heard that Haena was trying to keep us out and F Haena and whatever this, whatever that. But once they figured out that no, they're just trying to protect the place, and if you come here, you just got to follow our rules. Yeah, well, that makes sense. We can support that as long as you're not keeping us out. Right. So, yeah, and then that day had caught a fishing tournament, and two of them went up to Cold Pond to go jump in the water, and had these two young boys. They were using spear guns, which is now banned, and they were at Cold Pond like showing off their fish with their guns, like teenage boys. And so I had these older Hawaiian guys, like maybe late 20s, early 30s, go up to the young boys and say, hey, oh, good, you caught the fish, but you know, you can't use spear guns here anymore. And so these are fishermen from the outside now enforcing our rules because they support it. And they all came to help with the tournament too. So.
The rules for harvesting ocean resources here are numerous. Essentially, they're based on a blend of traditional practices and current standards of measurement. Only 3-pronged spears are allowed. Hunting for fish with scuba gear is forbidden. There are bag limits and size guidelines for the taking of fish, invertebrates, and algae.
So you look at the kupuna like Uncle Tom. Uncle Tom can tell you the state of the health of the fishery every year from 1946 all the way till today. He can tell you when the fish piles disappeared, you know, there's tsunamis and hurricanes and boating and all these things that have changed. He can tell you about all of that. And he's never swum a transect. He's never done, you know, any of these methods. So obviously the knowledge of how to assess the health of this community, of this fishery, already exists within this community. So how do we use that and set it up in a scientific way such that, you know, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're just using the skills and the knowledge the community already has, but just setting it up so it's a little bit more rigorous.
As we mentioned earlier, the story of CBFSAs in Hawaii is just beginning. Keep in mind, however, this is not an entirely new concept. Where this leads in regards to the health of Mauka and Makai areas and communities that take part in this concept is definitely worth looking forward to.
That's a big discussion we had is, are we a divided community or are we a community that just has these tendencies to pull us apart? And, I think the best way to do that, and it's not really a quick answer, but to work with the youth and teach the youth how to be humble and, you know, love them up so they don't have these insecurities, and teach conflict resolution, and acknowledge it's okay to disagree. In fact, that's good because the more different kind of thoughts we have, the more ideas to address the better. It's just, how do you get those different ideas to work together to come to the best solution for all? Right. So having youth programs is really key, and maybe that's why this took 25 years. Right.
Many thanks to Doctors Sheldon Plentovich and Kavika Winter. Mahalo nui to the community of Haena for their aloha. And a shout out to Kevin Chang and the folks at Kua. Aloha. Ahui ho. Malama Hawaii.